I was really nervous still. Like the first audition and the first dish, I was really nervous. The next challenge and the challenge after that, I got so excited about cooking. Maybe because I was not able to do it, during the day and during my time there, I was really excited every time we were in the kitchen in the last 3 episodes. It was really cool. I started feeling more confident and it was a good feeling.
Bum ba da bum. Anna.
Oh my God. Hey, Derrick. How you
are
doing?
you? I'm doing well. Well, that would be a lie. My life is actually fucking crazy right now. But
What's happening?
let's talk about you. How are you?
Well, I guess I'm supposed to be not well after the last episode, but I'm actually okay.
You okay?
I'm just glad it's over. Yeah. I was dreading that episode. I was waiting to see for it to air, what the edit is going to be. But I'm okay.
Yeah. Well, look, if anyone knows, it's me. I've been there.
I know. So people who got eliminated actually reached out and they're like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah."
That's good. Yeah. We've dubbed that term trauma buddies.
That is true. Most people who went on the show have been through that. Doesn't feel great.
No, it's definitely tough. Okay. Well, first of all, I have to say, from what you did get to do on the show, your food, other than the last cake, everything looked amazing. And you went home way too soon. I know you had so much more to show the world, but that first dish alone, if there is a major positive that you can take away and literally use as a magic red carpet or a superhero cape, is how great that first dish that you did was and the compliments you got from the judges. I mean, they really called it a finale worthy dish, and it was your first dish. So, and it looked amazing. It reminded me of how, like, I just connected with it. I was like, that's what I would have done. I'm like, that looked amazing, so hats off to you. That was a really special moment. So let's talk about it. What were you doing? Where were you? What was the moment where you're like, you know what? I'm going to try out for MasterChef.
What was the moment? So it was last July. I was home with my children and I was bored. And I think it was years back. I was thinking about applying for any type of show. And we used to watch Chopped as a kids. I still love Chopped. It's probably one of my favorite cooking shows. And I applied, 5 years ago. And I don't think they do a lot of episodes with amateurs. So I never heard back. But my kids would always tell me, like, hey, you have to apply again. But we lived overseas. It was not possible. But last year we were in the States. And one very special person told me, like, hey, you should check out MasterChef. And at that point of time, I actually had no idea what MasterChef was. So I applied pretty much blind. I was, with my kids. We sat down, we took that 2-minute video, we filled out the application. And I noticed that they would close the application process in August. I'm like, okay, if I don't hear by the end of August, that's going to be it. And I think maybe a week after they closed that process, they called me back and they said, well, we actually have our cast, we have our selection, but your application, it came very late, like almost the last moment. But we saw you and, we want you to come in and kind of go through the process and see if you can make it.
Wow. So you snuck in after the buzzer.
Apparently. I mean, I don't know how much of it is true. I think they're also trying to, pump everybody in just to make sure that everybody is excited about the show. But that was the process for me. And then the whole thing started with multiple auditions and cook us 27 different dishes. I mean, it's not 27, but no, the process is rigorous.
Yeah.
Right. And send us pictures and do this test and that test. And by the way, we want it yesterday, or you cannot do it yesterday. So, okay, you have until tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. They put the pressure on. it's crazy. A lot of people don't know. And like I had before I applied to MasterChef, I had a lot of understanding of just like the entertainment industry because I was already in the entertainment industry. I was a professional drummer, and my best friend was a TV producer, and my ex-wife, when like I just recently got divorced, but anyway, when I was with her, she was an actress and producer. So like I had been around all of it. So like it's great. What people just like, they just don't know is that like the show is going to get made, right? Especially MasterChef. They already know they're going to make it, but they don't, like, everyone doesn't start working until their job is needed. For instance, like casting gets hired first, and casting starts casting all these people. Culinary's not hired yet, right? So the whole culinary team, they're getting told you might be working on MasterChef. So, but they're all like working other jobs, they're working on other shows, and they're hoping that whatever show they're on ends in time so they can come work on MasterChef. And so a lot of times they'll lose people because like the timing didn't add up. So everything becomes this like chaos of we got to get this person now, because it's all they stagger it all. So like casting gets hired, and then okay, so now we got a cast. Okay, is the director on? So then the director's hired. Then like everyone gets hired after, but casting gets hired first, and casting is like working so hard and so fast because they have a deadline. And if they don't have a cast ready for when they're hiring the director, their casting's not getting hired next time. So
Oh my God.
it's so crazy. It's just so crazy. But they do that. They're like, we need this yesterday. You're like, but it's today.
Yeah, I'm like, I can't do it yesterday. Yesterday was yesterday.
Yeah.
Let's talk about something reasonable. But definitely at moments it felt disorganized.
Oh,
and, I just rolled with it. I'm like, okay,
right.
What's next? Like,
Right.
Just tell me what is next. I will make it work.
Exactly.
But I did I never was exposed to the entertainment industry.
Right.
So the whole TV show aspect of MasterChef was something very new to me.
Tell me about it.
It just was not, I guess, what I expected. I am all about food and I love what I do. And I was so excited about that and, expected to learn something. And I thought it was going to be more about food than it was. So obviously you make like real dishes for real judges.
In the real 45 minutes or the hour.
In the real 45 minutes. But a lot of it still feels more about the TV show than about the food and the dishes. And I think that part I did not expect.
Well, right. And then also, I mean, you're someone that loves to cook. Like, I always joke with people, the least amount of cooking I do is on a cooking show. Because, like, in your real life, it's like you wake up. Okay, I'll make some breakfast. Oh, I'm hungry around, 1 o'clock. Let me just whip something up real quick. Oh, let's make the family dinner. How about a dessert? Like, you can cook all day long at home. When you're on the show, it's that 45 minutes and that's it. And it's so much pressure. So it's not like this warm up and do it all like nice and at your leisure. It's like you're on a fucking rocket ship headed to Mars.
It is. Obviously when I did practice with a clock at home. And I think the first time I did it, I'm like, whoa, 45 minutes, that's really quick.
Yeah.
But you get used to it, right? If you can juggle 6 different pans at the same time, you can manage the time. But I was really nervous still. Like the first audition and the first dish, I was really nervous. But I think, I don't know, like the next challenge and the challenge after that, I got so excited about cooking. Maybe because I was not able to do it, during the day. Right. And during my time there, I was really excited every time we were in the kitchen in the last 3 episodes. It was really cool. I started feeling more confident, and it was a good feeling.
Yeah. Okay. So you went on MasterChef because you were bored with your children. How many kids do you have? 3?
I have 2.
2.
I have 2 girls. Yes.
2 girls. Wow. And do they just love when you cook for them?
They, I mean, they're very spoiled,
Okay.
I think, with food. Um, they, I mean, their demands are pretty high up there.
Let's hear
So,
about them. I want to know the
I mean,
demands.
today, like yesterday, my daughter asked me, like, you don't make ravioli very often anymore. I'm like, well, it kind of takes time. And she's like, can you make some tomorrow? I'm like, okay, what kind? She's like, well, I want short rib. I'm like, okay, short rib ravioli. It's gonna take about 5 hours to
For
make the
sure, ma'am.
filling. It's fine, right? It's like another hour for the dough, and it's okay, you can roll it into the 5 hours, but then you need probably another hour to shape them. I'm like, sure. She's like, yeah, and I can take it to school next day. I'm like, okay,
Oh
great.
my God.
But for them, for them it's something normal, right? That's
Right.
what mom does. Mom makes short rib ravioli.
That is funny. What are their ages?
14 and 12.
Oh, okay. So they like know they have
They
sophisticated
know.
they have
They
sophisticated
do.
palates at this point.
They do have sophisticated palates, and I actually took my youngest a few years ago. We lived in Switzerland back then,
Oh
and
wow.
Italy was so close.
Right.
And me and my friends went to Alba during their truffle season
Okay.
and did all the wine tastings and went to a bunch of nice restaurants, and everything was with truffle. And she did great. I took my daughter with me,
So your
and
daughter just loves
she
truffle.
and yeah, she doesn't like the smell of it, but she likes the taste.
That's so crazy, man. At the age of like 12 or 14, I didn't even know what a truffle was.
No, neither did I.
Yeah.
God.
Well, okay, so let's talk about that. Let's talk about growing up. Are you from Ukraine?
So, as you can tell by my accent, right? I am originally from Ukraine. I was born, I grew up, I spent 22 years in Ukraine.
Wow.
So, I didn't start traveling until my early 20s.
Okay.
So, growing up, I mean,
Yeah, what was that
you
like?
like
Tell the
that,
world.
that, well, food wise, well, there are multiple aspects. My family, I wouldn't say we were poor, but definitely we were not well off. So there were things that we couldn't afford. My parents worked their whole life and they saved for mine and my sister's education. So I remember growing up just like wanting things,
Yeah.
just like just like basic things. Because the clothes that I was wearing my sister's clothes, and just like you don't have things that people take for granted, like my children take for granted,
Right.
probably. So that was one part. I mean, all I did was just study, maybe like hang out with my friends, but there was nothing special about that life. And there was definitely not a lot of diversity with food. We did not go out.
Yeah,
I don't even know there were places to go out back then.
so what did your parents do for work?
So my dad was a lawyer and my mom is a civil engineer. So
Those are
like,
like those are supposed to be like amazing jobs. What do you mean? So in Ukraine, like that was
well, when I was born, the Soviet Union just collapsed.
okay.
So the whole economy was just rebuilding.
Okay.
And both my parents worked not for the government, but like for the city, or my dad worked for the prosecution office.
Oh, okay.
And the government jobs did not pay well.
Got it.
So it's not like, a lawyer in a law firm in the States,
Right.
or, a civil engineer working for the construction company. It was something very different.
Yeah, it's minimal pay because it's for the city. Got it.
It's minimal pay. We lived in a two-room apartment, not two-room apartment. So I shared a bed with my sister, and then the other room was for my parents, and we had a small kitchen.
Yeah.
And it was about 400 square feet. So
It's
it was
so crazy.
very different.
You were on the other side of the world, and like we have such a parallel story. My mom my mom was a single mom for a little bit after she got divorced, and we were living in a 400 square foot basement of some guy's house, and like my brother and I were in one room and my mom was in the other, and it was so tiny that when when she like met my stepdad, when they started dating, he came over and he's like, "You can't live here. Like this is impossible." Like he couldn't understand how we were doing it. And then Chopped. You applied to Chopped, and so did I. When I wanted to go before I went on MasterChef, I was like, I love Chopped. I'm gonna apply to Chopped, and I didn't hear anything. And I was like, they probably just don't like me because I'm an amateur. So I heard nothing back. That's so funny. Okay, so and then you and I plate food very similar. So I can't wait to hear more about your story, because so far, like, we have a lot of commonalities. Okay, so 400 square foot, 2-room apartment, and what was food like at home?
The food was very basic food. My mom made all meals. My dad didn't start cooking until he was much older. Funny
Okay.
now, he started making desserts when he turned like 80, and it was, I don't know, it was his hobby. I was just happy that he was doing something. But the food was very, very plain, very basic, some sort of protein, which was overcooked. Not because my mom made it not really well, but because the cooking standard
Yeah,
back then was like, hey, like, cook the hell out of that chunk of beef, and it was not very tasty or delicious. But as I was going through this, MasterChef journey and having lots of interviews, like, it brought back some memories and just reflection on certain things. And I realized that that passion for flavor, like, started really early. And not because of the food I ate, but maybe because of the books I read. I remember reading a lot of Nordic fairy tales book and like stories.
okay.
And you read about their food and you imagine the flavor. And like, I still remember descriptions of that flavor from the books I read as I was a child.
That's so interesting.
And I remember, like, we had this little grocery store, and they would sell in that same place like spices and different types of candies. So there's very specific smell scent in that store, and I would go there and I was just like look around and I would look at the spices. And I remember, I didn't remember how old I was, 10, 9. I bought ground cardamom just because I'm like, I want to know what it is. And it smelled so strong and I had no clue what to do with it. But I just remember buying that.
Just buying
It's
ground cardamom.
incredible. Buying ground cardamom as a kid, like, for no apparent reason. So I think that's weirdly how your brain is just wired to like certain things. So then this love for flavor that just continued throughout my life. And at some point of time when I got married, I started actually cook on daily basis.
Okay.
And it just like continued from that.
Wow.
And very quickly I realized that, like, the recipes are not enough for me.
Right.
Like, I could follow a recipe, but whether the recipe would work or not work for me, I realized it's not in the quality of the recipe. Like, I needed to know more about the chemistry of what's happening behind the ingredients. And that's how I taught myself to cook. Like, I started reading not like so much cooking books, but books about the science of food and like chemistry of it. And that was a journey to get from that point to where I am right now.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, look, recipes are just like a guideline, right? Like, that's how I look at a recipe, is it's just a guideline. I build off that. But I actually end up finding myself looking at more recipes now than ever, because I'm like, I just want to be inspired by, an outline and go somewhere with it.
There are actually great resources for inspiration, what I've been using recently. Because, I mean, there's two parts, right? There is like flavor profile, and then maybe the other part is like textures and temperatures of what you want to do. And like textures and temperatures to me is a more complicated part because I didn't have that formal education. So I can dream something, but then translating that into really that vision is sometimes hard, just because I need like more of that experience and more of that knowledge.
That's the
But
fun
when it
part for
comes
me.
to the flavor profiles, there are just some amazing websites that actually like let you pair the ingredients, and like they tell you how well they match, and you can just go and explore it. I can send you the link after
Yeah,
the
please do.
text.
What website is that?
It's actually called foodpairing.com, or it's .be. I think it's a European website.
Okay. How long have you been married?
Not married anymore, but I've been married for 15 years.
Not married anymore.
Yes,
Wait,
and we're not going there.
no. Wait, was he on the show with you?
Yes, at that point of time, I was still married.
Wow. We're both going through a lot of changes. And you're in Dallas now.
Yes, I'm in Dallas.
Me too.
This is where my children's grandmothers are, and they're my ex-husband's whole family.
Okay.
And it is very hard. So I traveled quite a bit. So I left Ukraine, I think, at the age of 23, and I lived 4 years in Zurich, 2 years in Boston, 3 years in Geneva. So it's been a journey to get here.
Wow.
But as you travel, you kind of lose the connections and the community around you.
Yes.
So one thing is to go through that by myself as an adult, but for my children, I wanted them to have that community and the sense of home and the sense of family. So that's partially what's behind the decision to move back and to move back to Dallas.
It's actually a really good move. I know that it sounds like it's some sacrifice for you as far as maybe your extended family, and then obviously the traveling is great, but you're right, it's hard to stay rooted. I'm here in Dallas currently. I'm in Addison.
Mm-hmm.
But I also live in LA because the people I work for, we go back and forth, Dallas and Los Angeles. And that is one thing I've actually been complaining a lot about lately to like people around me, is that like, I have friends or colleagues and other chef friends in LA that want to do something, and I'm like, oh, I can't until X, Y, and Z because I'm in Dallas, and then I'll get out there and then they don't have any availability, and then I'll have people here in Dallas that are like, hey, let's do this, and I'm like, I'm in LA, and it's like I am so not rooted right now, and it doesn't feel good. It's actually like us as human beings, we like that community is important, and you don't realize it until it's like gone.
It's super hard. So
Yeah.
I think I have pretty much zero community around me at the moment, and it's just so incredibly difficult.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'm here in Dallas. I'm going back to LA for just a month. And then when I get back in mid-September, we're going to cook together for sure.
Absolutely. I would love that.
And we'll build community here together. We'll find all the chefs around. We'll find people that love food, and we can do it together.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And I mean, to be honest, MasterChef from that perspective, people comment like despite all the TV show aspect of it, there is something positive that everybody takes away from the show. And a lot of people mention people, right, as one of the greatest assets.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like absolutely true. When you meet somebody that you can sit down and talk about the best way to sous vide a piece of meat, right?
Sure.
And like spend 45 minutes talking about that. That's pretty amazing because nobody else will listen to you doing that.
Right. Or if you do try to tell someone that doesn't know about it, they're like, wait, you put the meat in a bag and you put it in a bath? They're like,
yeah,
but you don't boil it?
It was pretty cool to be in the environment like that. But for me specifically, just not having many people around me, I appreciated that so much because there were a couple of great friends that emerged after this experience. And I'm just like very grateful to the whole MasterChef community for that. So that was one thing. And then another one, I don't know if you ever experienced that, or maybe you experienced that when you were at MasterChef, and maybe all creative people experience that at some point of their lifetime. And if they do, I'm super envious. Like the state of creative flow, when you're like constantly in the food environment and you're thinking about flavor combinations and you just like start generating those ideas and like recipes in your head, and it's such such high, I
Yeah,
think. It
for
was
sure.
pretty amazing.
Well, you might, I mean, you're definitely not the only one, but I feel like not everyone feels that. I can actually tell when, like, I'm, for lack of a better term, maybe like I'm depressed or in a funk and I'm not like at my happiest, because I'll notice that I'm not thinking about food and not thinking about what can I do? When I walk through the grocery store, like, it's different. I'll pick up two different vegetables and smell them together and be like, do these smell good together? Because if they smell good, they're probably going to taste good. And I'll do that with like random things. And people like, I'll catch people looking at me like, what the fuck is he doing? It's like, but
Yeah.
but I think some of us are just wired that way completely. It's like, I've always lived a creative life. I've, I've said, yeah, I just remember sitting in high school, like, hating it. I'm like, we have all these movies that talk about where the future of humanity is going and that there's going to be self-driving cars and there's going to be AI and blah, blah. And everyone was like, that's not really going to happen. Like, I remember my math teacher being like, you can't use a calculator on this problem because you're not always going to have a calculator in your pocket. And then, like, literally, like, our fucking phones can do trigonometry. Like, I just hated it. I was like, I got to do something creative. I got to do art. I got to do art in every way, shape, or form. And I was, and I have been, and I still am. And it was just like, when I found out that food was art, I got really excited. I remember working in a restaurant, trying to make it as a musician. And I watched this chef just like create. And I got so inspired by it. And I would go, and his name's Chef Damon Gordon. And I would go, like, I would hurry up and get my tables all taken care of. And I would go into the kitchen and I would just stand by him at the pass. And I remember in the beginning, he would just look at me like, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm just watching. He's like, yeah, go take care of your tables. I was like, no, they're good. He's like, I could go to your tables right now and they're good. I was like, 100%, promise. He's like, all right. And so I was just like watching him work. And then when I saw like the art of it and the construction of it and like the chemistry behind it, right? Then it was so much easier for me to sell it at the table. I go out to the table and be like, oh my God, you gotta know about this dish. And I was like, and this is how they put it. And they're like, we'll all take one. And then it's like, now my sales at the table were like higher than everybody else's. I was the top server every night. But it was not because of the money. It was because the understanding of the construction of it, the art of it. I just fell in love with it.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, being able to translate that flavor and vision into a dish, I think, and just like give that experience to people, that's pretty awesome. And just in general, I think like if people think about their memories and, like the events, the experience, so much of it is related to food.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I'm thinking. I've been thinking like, okay, what do I do with all of this? Like, I have no idea. Like, you go after MasterChef, and because it ended so abruptly, I'm
Oh,
like, I was like in a mini existential crisis. I'm like, I felt that it was supposed to be some sort of milestone, and it didn't feel that way. And I felt like it just like didn't have the closure
yeah.
for me. But and like your experience was different. I try to do food content, and I'm like, okay, that is something very different. It's not really something that I enjoy doing. Like, creating the content side of it stresses me out,
It's not
just
fun.
because you have to post it and you have to approach the food, like the whole cooking process, very differently. I'm like, that's not it. But then Scott and I came up with this idea of, doing limited, sort of exclusive private events.
Yeah.
And that feels more like me. So being able to think through that menu so that the food is special. But also, I'm now thinking, like, yes, food can be great. How do you make the experience memorable for people? That is going to take it to a completely different level.
Yeah.
Just to create that memory for people, I think that's going to be important.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we should do a pop-up.
We should. I mean, just so many different ideas that run into my head was this, private I wouldn't say it's dinner club because I didn't want it to be just dinner. Like I wanted to be dinner one month and I wanted to be brunch another one and I
Yeah.
wanted to be a pasta making class a third time. So just something very different, but something that would excite people. But we should definitely do something together.
I'm going to tell you this, and this is a little secret, a little bunch of losers exclusive. I'm looking for a venue out here in Dallas that I can not only do have an everyday thing that keeps it running and going and making money, but also an exclusive venue for members or the public, however we want to do it at any different time, that showcases chefs and we'll have all kind. Like I love it. Like we're gonna have pop up dinners that are fancy and over the top, and then a brunch and art dinners and a pasta making class, like all that. I'm literally in the search for it, and hopefully sometime next year, like pulling the trigger and making it happen. But right now I'm in the search.
This place, like Dallas as an area, and maybe I haven't found those places yet, but I'm hungry for like good food. I'm like, I think there is so much demand, and I think the supply is not keeping up with the sophistication and the amount of demand.
But also, Dallas is moving in that direction. I've been here for 4 years now, off and on, and I've watched it just get better and better and better. You just have to like know where to look and know where to go, but it's getting fantastic. It's hard to notice it because there's so many chain restaurants, right? Like there's just so many Cisco food stations. It's what I call them. But there are some here. There's some really great places, and like there's a place down in Deep Ellum called Ruins. It's a tequila and taco place. It's a tequila bar. They got over 150 different tequilas.
Wow.
And then their tacos are out of this world good. They're so good. It's one of my favorite places here in Dallas. Do you like barbecue at all? Do you eat barbecue?
I do. I mean, that's one thing I do enjoy about Dallas barbecue.
Have you
But
been
I
to
mean,
Terry Black's?
no, haven't heard of it.
It's also in Deep Ellum. Terry Black's sometimes will have a line for like just a line down the block. It's so good. It's so good. What else?
Go back to MasterChef?
Yeah, you want to?
Oh, we can. I mean,
Yeah, you can.
there's definitely a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, it definitely hit you hard. I mean, I could see it. I felt it.
There's a lot in that episode. I mean, I can probably go ahead and own it in a way that that cake was not what I want to serve to people in a way that it was assembled.
Sure.
Like, it was definitely not assembled right. I knew that I had an issue with frosting, and it was just not cooperating with me. It was so, I
The
mean,
cake was still warm, right? It was like still a little warm.
I'm not sure that the cake was warm. I think because you have 17 ounce blasting, you have all the cameras and the equipment. So I don't think it was just the issue of the cake layers being warm. I think there's just so much heat coming at that frosting from all directions that it starts to melt.
Yeah.
So the idea with the outer layer was to put a lot of it and then scrape it so it's in a straight line. But obviously that didn't work because the structure inside was just like falling down. But I do, stand by the flavor of that cake. As I called it inedible, there's just no way it was inedible. Like I taste every component of my dish.
That's
And
interesting.
yes, there was a lot of sugar, but there was a lot of coffee in the layers to counterbalance that. And there was sugar in the frosting, but there was salt in that frosting too. And then there
Interesting.
was like dark chocolate glaze that had zero sugar and like peanuts. So all of that should have balanced each other, but I didn't taste the final product, so maybe it was not as balanced as I hoped it would. But the idea of the flavor profile was definitely it definitely included elements to make sure that it's not that cloyingly sweet that you don't want to have in a cake.
Yeah, look, I mean, when I obviously I'm watching it with a little bit different of an eye because obviously I've gone through it twice. I was like, okay, Giggs put flour in his frosting, and it's only two flavors. It's a vanilla cake with blueberry frosting, and it doesn't look good at all. Like, yeah, it's constructed, but let's be honest.
Constructed, yes.
But let's be honest. He put raw flour in there, so that I'm like, okay. I was like, Anna's safe. I was like, they're gonna make it dramatic, but Anna's safe. And I was like, and there's no way that cake doesn't taste. There's no way that cake tastes bad because of the construction of it, like the profile of it. Like when you were saying what it was, I was like, oh, a brown butter coffee cake with like, I was like, this is what I would have made. I mean, I wouldn't have made it because I would have known there's not enough time. I would have just been like, I'm not. It's tough because the cake challenge. Here's the deal too. Did you watch any episodes of MasterChef before you went on?
Yeah, I did. And, I figured I did not play that episode right. And
Right.
it was not my first, when I heard we need to make a cake and it was supposed to be a birthday cake. And there was always this link, okay, make a childhood, make it like you. That was not the first cake I thought of.
Okay.
I thought of a different cake, but I knew that other people were making that type of cake.
Right.
And I'm like, well, I can probably give some space to other people to, make what they want. I can come up with something with a different profile. And then I thought, maybe do I play it safe and I make a basic chocolate cake. And I beating myself up for not playing it safe.
Yeah. There's three things about it. The cake challenge is early enough because this is, at the end of the day, this is a game and it's a puzzle. And the cake challenge, you have to, obviously, every round, your goal is to make it through. But the cake challenge is the least forgiving. So you definitely want to play it safe, but just above safe. Like, that's the key to the cake challenge, is do it just above safe. For all those of you listening that want to try out for MasterChef one day, when you get to the cake challenge, you got to do just a little above safe and you'll be okay. When you try to win the thing, like, because your cake, like if your cake would have came out fucking perfect, like you would have won it because it was the most difficult. It had the most difficult components, pieces, and most eccentric profile. Like you would have won it. But again, is TV gonna let you win 3 times in a row?
I knew that I was going home. And call it a gut feeling, and I don't know where that feeling came from. Maybe it was in the way the production team talked to me or didn't talk to me. Like I was asked to show emotion because apparently people were not able to read me. It was overemphasized that I'm not getting the immunity that day. So I was very certain that I'm going home, and in my head, the only way I would have stayed if I made a perfect cake. So when I realized that the cake is not going to turn out perfect, I was just like I knew that was it. And even when they called Giggs' name, I knew what I'm going to hear next. Like there was no doubt in my head.
Did it cross your mind at all? And you can squash this so we can not talk about it if you don't want to, but did it cross your mind at all that because you're from Ukraine and obviously it's apparent, you have an accent, it's part of your story, it's part of your you didn't move here when you were 2 years old, you lived in Ukraine, you went through all that you've been through, and then now there's this war between Russia and Ukraine that is talked about in the news every day. Do you feel that there's any pressure or any sort of choices made behind the scenes because of that?
Well, definitely the thought crossed my mind, right?
Yeah.
Again, a lot to unpack in that episode. The way I felt, how things are going to evolve. And then the fact that despite sort of winning two challenges. I did not feel like I get an advantage similar to other contestants. There were also 10 other cakes that were not cut into. Was my cake really the worst one? And you start thinking, about the reasons. And obviously, all of that can be just one big conspiracy theory.
Right. But what's just really hard is all those conspiracies right now have been coming true.
But like it's MasterChef in the US, right?
Right.
Like you think about the audience of that. You start thinking, okay, like, do people really want a person that was not born in this country be the one who goes to the top, right? Then Ukraine in general being a controversial subject.
Right.
Like at that point of time, probably the production didn't know what's going to happen with like sponsoring Ukraine as a country and the whole war thing, and people are divided about it. Some people want to support it. Some people say like, why are we spending money on something that's we have no business sponsoring. So I definitely think the whole Ukraine factor is more controversial than helpful in this environment. Did it go as far as to influence like my elimination? Like this is something I don't know, but yes, I did think about it. Speaking about the accent, so that was actually like I did not grow up speaking English. Like I had to learn English along the way, and it was not until I moved out of Ukraine when I started speaking English like on a daily basis.
Okay.
So the accent is it's probably impossible for me to lose. I don't think it will ever go away.
Well, we don't want you to lose it.
But when you're like on the show in the States, it's like, it's scary. Like, that you have an accent, and like, I hated my voice, and I hated the fact that the accent is coming so strong, and I still make grammar mistakes as I speak. So it was like one of those paralyzing factors that I just had to overcome. And like my family will know because I was worried about it. And I watched your podcast, the very first episode, and you're like, oh my God, I'm not sure I can listen to this girl, Susan. She sounds like a villain from a James Bond movie. I'm like,
I did say that. God. I'm sorry.
I'm like, oh my God. He just like the very first thing, and it just like hits one of my biggest insecurities. I'm like, really?
Well, look, I apologize, and also this is just a form of.
I thought it was funny. Like, listen, I get it, but it was also funny because it just hit so close to home.
Well, know that I'm coming from a good place. Obviously, you're here, and we're having a real conversation now. The recaps are fun. I think that was the first recap I did because I was talking with production. I was like, hey, MasterChef is coming back. Because we were talking about how to get more content up, but also relative to, people that are on these shows. And I was like, well, let's just take it one season of a Gordon Ramsay show at a time right now. And so I was like, what about me recapping, these first each episode? And so then I'm doing the recap, and I'm trying to be funny, but I'm also trying to say things that get people to go, oh my God, I need to go watch this, or like, you know what I mean? So it's like those polarizing kind of things. But yeah, I mean, look, I was also like, it was the first time I heard you speak, and immediately I'm like, is this he came off like James Bond villain.
This was the first time I heard me speak on a camera. And like, I hear my voice differently than you guys do.
Sure.
And when I speak fast, I'm realizing now how harsh the voice actually comes through. And I'm like, it's funny, but like there is literally nothing I can do about it. It is what it is.
No, we don't want you to change it. No one wants you to change it. It's part of who you are. Like, I hate my voice too. I don't listen to any of these back. I can't stand the way I sound. I definitely thought about it. Because, so for instance, like if I post a clip from MasterChef, like one of my clips that has a ton of plays of, Gordon telling me how great it cutting into that lobster en croûte was. There's a label when I open it up. It says this video can't be viewed in Russia. Like some of my stuff is like, because it's on Fox, it can't be viewed in Russia. And I'm like, that's so crazy. And so, when I'm watching and I hear that you're from Ukraine and I know that there's this drama with Russia and Fox TV, I'm like, I obviously you can cook, but I was actually shocked they even had somebody on from Ukraine. Like I thought, okay, well maybe it's not so bad they're having you on, because if it was so bad, why would they make drama,
I mean, it's pretty bad. So my family is so there's one thing that people don't know. Like I was crying that whole cake episode, but I mean, part of it does have to do because as my cake was not working for me, I was realizing I am going home. And like nobody would convince me that like otherwise. Like we stopped trolling and like people would come to me like, oh, like it's gonna be fine. I'm like I know. But part of it has a lot to do with just also my overall emotional state because my family is still in Ukraine.
Right. And you're
And
thinking of them.
as we started filming MasterChef, and I didn't make it part of my narrative because I didn't want to.
Sure.
But my dad ended up in a hospital with like health issues. So I would, you know, and it's not like I just could like leave everything and go there. I discussed it with my family and we thought that it was not safe for me to go and be there. So I
Wow.
didn't.
Wow.
But I would go and, have my phone not with me during the filming time. And like, you have this whole day of MasterChef drama. And then I would go back and sleep. And around 3 a.m., like all the pictures of him in the hospital would come in and requests for money. And as I was progressing in the show, his health was deteriorating. And it was just so hard to live. So for people who have to deal with this war, like on a daily basis, for like regular people, it's just so hard. It just made their lives so difficult, so complicated. They literally have no hope that things are going to improve. You live in a state of constant fear. You live in a state where you don't have electricity for 6 to 8 hours every day. Like you do not feel safe. You cannot travel easily to get out of the country. It's just so hard. And like I grew up in independent Ukraine, so for me Ukraine comes as a whole. But call me pacifist. Like at this point of time, I didn't really care. I just want this whole thing to be over.
No, fuck. I'm with you.
So
I
it's
don't know.
hard.
I don't. It is. I can't even imagine you like sitting there like trying to just play this game on TV when you like your dad is
It's
ill and in Ukraine and you can't like and the determination of the family is don't come here because it's not safe. Like that, like it's your dad. Like that sucks.
it sucks. Like making the choice was incredibly difficult, and it is hard to like enjoy things when always in the back of your head
Yeah.
you have this thought, and I'm here, like, and I'm safe, and my children are fine. But it definitely impacted me when it started, and it's still very hard to live through. But that specific time, it was just surreal. So Gordon actually called me the girl that never smiles, but like, fuck me, it's really hard to smile when you don't know like all the background. And maybe I didn't play my whole personality on the TV, but at that point of time, I just couldn't.
Yeah. It is definitely heavy. It's definitely a situation that not very many people could ever understand. And you're moving forward. That's all you can do.
I'm moving forward. I'm moving forward. I'm trying to help my family as much as I can. Um, they don't want to move out. Like their whole life is there. Everything they ever worked for is there. My mom doesn't drive a car. She doesn't speak English. It's not like I can just like take her here.
Right.
Like I cannot describe to her how her life would look like if she moved.
Right.
So life goes on, right? We're still trying to do great things with food, and
Sometimes food is the release. Food is
Yes.
the healing mechanism, right?
And I hope that, I mean, it will be over at some point of time. I just can't wait for it to be over.
Right.
I know it's a
Heavy.
lot. I'm sorry. I didn't want
No,
to make it this heavy.
no, it's okay. It's real. People need to hear it.
There's a lot going on in the background, not just in my life, in other people's lives. So,
Yeah.
people feel so free to comment on the internet, you know, like they watch an episode and everybody has opinions and everybody has their views. Just like freaking be kind.
Right. Right. Well, and it's just like the internet has got to this point where it's like you can just say whatever, you can just type whatever you
Whatever you
want.
want to.
And
The
then you
freedom
walk,
of speech.
sure, which is fine. The problem is that you walk away from it and you're not thinking about it because you're not seeing the response immediately. Like when you and I have a conversation, I say something to you, you respond, then I go, oh, well, maybe I should think about what I'm saying because the look on your face is not how I'm thinking it should be, right? So we can have like the nuance of the actual conversation is way more important than posting a comment and leaving. I do have a solve for this. I have an idea.
What's your idea?
All comments. Okay, because when you have your phone, your phone won't open unless it sees your face, right?
Right.
So there should be a facial recognition that when you want to make a comment, you have to do the comment in video. You have to say it. You have to say it out loud. No typing comments. You have to do a video of your face saying it. So you have to open the camera and it sees your face and it goes, okay, you can comment. And if you try to cover your face, it stops the comment. All comments have to be video posts. So if you're gonna call someone, a donkey, you got to be able to do it in person. It's the closest to in person I can think of it. And I think a lot of people wouldn't say out loud what they're typing. Well,
So tell me about something. I wanted actually to ask you a question.
okay.
So I do get all these amazing people go on my Instagram and say like, hey, we would like to see more of your food. We hope that maybe you will come back if they do like back to win or fans favorite season. So I wanted to ask you, tell me about the second time. So why did you go back? How did you feel? Was it worth it?
I think anything worth trying is worth it. So when I didn't win season 6, when I was standing there on the stage and the confetti fell for Claudia, not me, I couldn't put into words what that felt like. Knowing, I fucking know that my finale menu was better than hers. Like it really was just this weird, like, it felt like the simulation glitched, like it was like, this doesn't seem right. But if I would have won, I would have not pursued food like I did not winning. Because if I would have won, I would have had all the money I needed at the time, and I would have just went back to playing drums. And I would have continued playing drums and just put the money away and lived off, what I could. And I wouldn't have done pop-ups. I wouldn't have done, I just don't think I would have done what I did. And maybe MasterChef knew that. Maybe they had that figured out. And so, because they would always ask, what do you want to do if you win, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I'm not worried about that. I just want to win. Like my bucket list is not a restaurant empire. It's like, it's not what am I going to do after MasterChef. It's like, I want to win MasterChef. Like, I love this show. I've watched every episode from season 1, from the debut. I've watched everything Gordon Ramsay does. Like, this is what I want right here. And they're like, yeah, but what about after? I'm like, no, this. Like, so maybe they knew. So when I didn't win, like, the world felt the same way I did. Like, I mean, there was just, I had messages from every race, color, and creed from all around the world going, you should have won. We want to try your food. To where I had enough people around the world, not even just North America, but other countries too, that were booking me. And I was, just traveling and making more money than I've ever made, getting to cook for other people in their own home. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. And then some people couldn't afford the like in-home price. So I was like, okay, well, now I need to figure out how to do like pop-ups, because pop-ups weren't like a big thing either yet. Like that has become, they're a big thing now, but like after season 6, pop-ups weren't a thing. So I started doing pop-ups and selling out. Like I did 3 pop-ups in Canada. Like furthest I had taken a pop-up, and all 3 of them sold out. And then I went and did this thing in Mexico, and it was sold out. And then I was getting hired. Like I would do a pop-up, and then people were like, we want to do this at our house. And I'm like, cool. And it was just like, it just kept going and going and going. And I was actually on to something really cool right before COVID. I was doing these art dinners in art galleries with an artist that he does like these really cool like splatter paintings. And shout out Taff McWhorter. And when I met him, I was like, I want to make food look like your art. Now I know this is a long answer to your question, but I'll get there. But I was like, I want to make food that looks like your art. And then we put it together. We were doing these dinners where he was like live painting, and I'm cooking live, and I'm making the food look like his art. And it was such a cool fucking experience. And then COVID hit, and then I started getting hit up by people that I knew that were like, we need a private chef because we can't go to restaurants. And I was like, okay. And so I started private chefing full time, and it's like golden handcuffs. It's a ton of money, but like, I'm not doing art dinners. You know what I mean? I'm not doing TV shows. I'm not doing pop-ups. I'm not meeting different people every day, cooking in different houses. I'm cooking for the same people with dietary restrictions and lots of food allergies. And so it's limited what I could cook. And then MasterChef called. Actually, MasterChef didn't call first. All these other MasterChef contestants started hitting me up. They're like, hey. And I'm like, you've never talked to me before. Why am I getting a hey from you right now? And I'm like, what's up? They're like, have you been asked? Like, everyone was checking to see if I was going, because everyone was worried about me going. Because at that, like, look, like, you're one of the first people I've seen in that kitchen that has the plating quality that I showed up with. And during season 6, we were like, all the contestants on one of our days off got pulled into the testing kitchen, and Graham Elliott gave us a plating class.
Oh.
And I was pissed. I was like, yo, you're taking away the sharp edge of my knife right now. Like, this is what, but it was because like the first plate I did, like, no one else's food looked that quality. And they were like, this is my narrative. Derrick could be in the top every round if we don't teach these guys how to plate. Because that's what it felt like. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, why are you giving everybody a plating class right now? That's just like, what? I was so mad. Anyway, so all these chefs started calling me, and I was like, this is weird. And they're like, do you know? And I'm like, no, what? They're like, are you going? I'm like,
Going where?
going where? And then I got a phone call from casting, and they're like, hey, we're doing Back to Win, and we would love to have you. And I was like, fuck. Like, all I was thinking is like, this is going to be expensive, because I don't want to lose my job, because I know that it's going to be, you know, only one person wins. So I had to talk to my job first and be like, hey, like, I need to know that this is cool. And my client at the time was scheduled for a back surgery. And so she was like really relying on me to feed her good food, get her the nutrients she needs, be a part of her like recovery journey. And it was literally like the same week that she was having back surgery, I was going to be going away from MasterChef. But long story short, we talked it out, we worked it out, and they were cool with me going. I just had to find a chef to cover. And this fucking chef out here charged me more than I make a day. He like took advantage of me. I fucking paid this dude $15,000 to cover me. So that was in my head. I was like, I gotta fucking win this, because I'm literally shelling out thousands of dollars to be here. And so they call, I say yes, And then DeAndre calls me from season 7. I think DeAndre was, yeah, season 7. Do you know who DeAndre is?
I watched one MasterChef season.
Oh, which one?
10.
Oh, okay. That's a good one to watch.
It was a good season. I was
Yeah.
actually okay. I like that.
Yeah.
I'm down.
You'll probably never watch another one though, right?
I mean, I would
PTSD
love to
right now.
watch yours. I didn't have a PTSD. I mean, overall, it was good experience. It's actually would be interesting to watch it now, knowing what I know.
Yeah. So DeAndre calls me and he goes, I know you got a call. I need to know if you're going or not. And I was like, motherfucker, I was like, you tell me if you're going, because if you're going, I'm not going. Because he's the only one. He's the only one, in my opinion, that is better than anyone that's ever been on that stage. But he definitely learned a lot of it after. Like from where he was on season 7 to where he is now, he deserves everything in the world. I've heard some stuff behind the scenes that, he's nefarious in ways. So that might be his downfall, but like he is an amazing chef. And I'm like, I don't want to go up against you, dude, because if push comes to shove. But also I didn't know they got rid of the black aprons. So knowing now the black apron challenges are not there, I could do it with DeAndre, because I would never have to just go head to head with him. Because the black apron challenges, you would have to go head to head with somebody to stay in.
I wish they had it.
Yeah, me too. No, they should. It's one of the things, like, it's talked about on Reddit and online a lot, that that the black apron challenges should come back. But anyway, so I got told DeAndre couldn't go, or he wasn't going. So then I said yes. And I said yes because I was like, okay, this is my chance. This is like, I'm the one to come back and win this. Because if you search should have won MasterChef, like, it's me that comes up, and it's like, okay, this is my redemption season. This is for me. And then I got there and we were like, I had signed in. I'm at the hotel and it's the day we're supposed to be battling for our white apron. And they come out and they announce that there's going to be MasterChef juniors that are now adults that are going to be competing with us. And I was like, son of a bitch. And immediately thought, fuck, they're going to have a MasterChef junior win this. And if I would have known, just because I know how TV goes, like, I maybe would not. I would have sat it out, maybe. But look, the exposure was great, and no slight against Dara. Dara is actually fucking fantastic, and when she made a cake in the fucking 90 minutes, she did it better. You got to watch the Back to Wednesday. She did it better than the culinary team. They came out with I think it was like 12 or 15 of Gordon Ramsay's desserts, or different desserts. Some were Gordon Ramsay, some were Christina Tosi. There was all these different desserts, and we got to pick them. But Christian picked the order we got to pick them. So I didn't get to pick. He left me last, and everyone avoided Gordon Ramsay's sticky toffee pudding. And so I got Gordon's sticky toffee pudding, which I nailed. I crushed it, but here's the thing. There were 3 other people that did way more difficult. The sticky toffee pudding is actually not a difficult dish. Everyone was just scared because it's Gordon's. But everyone did. There was like 3 people that just crushed it even more than I did. Like, I crushed it, but there was like 4 more. And Dara, her cake looked better than the demo because they had all the demos out. And Culinary made the demo. Like, there's a whole team back there. They made the demo cake. It looked beautiful, and then Dara makes hers, and it's better. Like, it was just like, the judges even laughed about it. They were like, this is crazy. So Dara definitely deserved to win. She definitely earned it. But had I known, like, juniors were adults and competing, I would have maybe considered it a little bit more. But I definitely felt like I had a shot. So I went for it. And if they ask me again, I'm crazy enough to do it.
Okay.
But that's because I feel a part of the MasterChef world, and I feel like the fans would want that, like the people that are diehard MasterChef fans would want to see me back again, but they probably won't let me now unless there's another fucking Back to Win season. But all an all runner up season. I don't know.
Oh, runner-up season. Oh, that would be interesting.
That would be wild, huh? So what are you doing in Dallas now? Like, are you working anywhere? Are you doing anything?
So I continue with my job. This is a career that I built for what? Since 2007.
Okay, what do you do?
I work for a public accounting firm for a big company. I'm a consultant.
Okay,
I call myself as a tax director. I'm a director working with tax, but it's not like just tax. I work with companies and like big multinational groups. There's always a question if you're a group, if you're a company and you operate across the world, like where do you tax your profit? So
interesting.
nobody even think about it, right? Like regular people do not. But I work for a tax team that would work with a company and understand what's valuable in the operations, how they make money, like how they distribute operations across the world so that the share of profits that gets taxed in each country is fair. So that's what I do. The job is very demanding.
Really?
I mean, it's like the investment of time that goes into it is ridiculous. It's, I don't know, a regular day, normal day, an easy day would be like 12 hours, maybe 3 hours on the weekend. And that's a normal day. And then you get all the trouble on top and it can get worse.
And then you got
So,
your daughter asking for short rib ravioli, like.
yes. So I'm trying to combine that and still do those dinner events because I don't want to give up on creativity. I don't want to give up on those events or pop-ups or opportunities.
Yeah.
But because my time is limited, like it has to be something special and something that is worth my time.
Yeah, for sure.
Because so far, and I don't have many friends, to talk to me about like this industry. I even have no idea like what is possible, like how much money I can make, like can I replace my income? Like I have no idea. I have no clue because there is like nobody to ask those questions.
Sure.
But like I need my job. I worked for it really hard. Like I was growing throughout, my life working in different countries. Like I can't just give it up. So
Yeah,
I'm
no,
trying to do it all. It's hard.
yeah, it is hard. No, you should juggle it and do, yeah, make them special moments. There is definitely there's money out there for it. Especially the more elevated you make it, the more it becomes harder to sell. But there are people that will buy it. Does that make sense? Like, I've done dinners where I've sold tickets for $350, $400 a person, and they were tough tickets to sell. But $400 a person is a lot of money when you got, however many sitting down at the table. So it's possible. Yeah. So, but do it, take it a little baby steps at a time. And,
I'm doing that.
yeah,
Again, it's not about like me. I obviously want to learn more and I want to create more. But if I'm going to do it, I want to make it special for people.
right. Yeah, for
And
sure.
I think that, doing it on a small scale, I probably can find enough audience who would be interested in that.
For sure. Well, and I think there's a food scene emerging here in Dallas that's going to be the next like big thing. I think it's coming. So it's a good place to be. Man, I so many other things we could talk about that
I know. I could talk
just
for another hour. We can do it offline.
we could do it again. Yeah, for sure. Definitely. We should get together when I get back and we'll cook and hang out and learn more about each other. But yeah, we got so heavy there. We talked about so much.
I know.
Okay, let me ask you one question. Dead or alive, one famous person you would love to cook for. A celebrity, famous person.
Cook for.
Yeah. If you could make them your favorite thing.
Well, cook with is probably an interesting one. Cook for. Just give me a minute to think about somebody who would inspire me. Oh, okay. This is a no-brainer. I'd like to cook again for my dad.
Oh,
I'm not even going to think about it more.
You're trying to break me over here. Look at this. Tears in my eyes.
But to cook with, there's this chef in the UK, you probably heard of, Heston Blumenthal. I didn't even know how to
Oh,
pronounce
yeah,
his
yeah.
last name.
Yeah, Blumenthal.
So, like, his story, like when I read one of his books, when he talks about his story, he worked in finance. He is a self-taught cook. Think he is amazing and crazy. I would love to cook with him. Or like even, you talked about watching a chef cook. I think I would just love to sit and watch and like see how he operates and how he creates what he creates. Because when I was learning about all the different like dishes and techniques, I realized how far preparation of food, you know, like how much it evolved over time in the last 20 years that
Right.
people at home say don't even realize that
Right.
the way food is being made is just like so different from how it's being made at home. So
Right.
when I first read about it and like experienced that, I was a little taken aback because I'm like, I don't have enough time in my lifetime to learn all of that.
No, that's the hard part because you want to. Like I God, I look at like stuff Gordon does and other chefs, and I'm like, I feel so far behind.
I feel very far behind just because of all the techniques and equipment. It's so different from traditional cooking. It's crazy. Like, and that I don't think anymore that it's impossible to learn. It's just there is a lot.
Can I give you some advice? Because I've
Sure.
totally gone through this, and I still struggle with it because it's you'll never learn it all. So one, always tell yourself you're never going to learn it all. To learn the things that you need to learn or want to learn, don't start with what should I learn. Start with what do you want to do? What do you want to put together today? What do you want to make? What is inspiring you? And then figure out how to get to that place. And then when you get there, when you get to that final result, get to that thing that you wanted to make, whether it's a short rib ravioli. Like there was one time you didn't know how to make pasta dough, right? But you wanted to make a pasta, or you wanted like for the short rib ravioli. Like there was a time you didn't know how to make short rib, and you learned the techniques to make those, and now that's in your pocket and you love it. So it's like that. It's like for me, I didn't know how to make a meringue, right? But then I was doing this dish and it called for a Swiss meringue. And I was like, how do I do that? And I'm like reading about it. And I'm like, wow, that's different. Like you're like heating up the egg whites. And I'm like, okay. And then once I knew how to make a Swiss meringue, I was like, hold on. How can I flavor this? How can I push this outside of just dessert? And I was in Hawaii and I had this dish. It was a short rib and marshmallow dish. And they just put marshmallow fluff on this short rib and torched it. And I was actually kind of disappointed. I was like, this dish has so much creativity behind it, but it was just so poorly executed. And the first thing I did when I got back from Hawaii, I was like, I am going to make a short rib marshmallow dish, but I'm not going to use marshmallow. So I did a root beer braised short rib with a star anise flavored Swiss meringue. And then I took rice, like plain Rice Krispie cereal, and I spiced them. I seasoned them all up with spices. And then that dish came together, and it's like this fun. It's like it all reminds you of childhood memories, but it's also elevated. And, so that was like with Swiss meringue. But if I was like, I need to learn everything so I can know everything, like
No, I get that.
that dish wouldn't come together. But it was like just the journey, and as it arrives, play with it. And then when you master it, then it's in your pocket, right? So just like think of where you want to go before you think of what you need to learn.
That's really good advice.
All right, cool. Let's end it there.
All right.
All right, Anna, please stay in touch.
Of course.
Text me whenever, and then I get back in September, and we can hang out. We'll go.
Sure. Let's plan for it.
Let's go bounce around Dallas. My girlfriend. I'd love for you to meet my girlfriend, and we'll just all have fun.
Absolutely.
All right, Anna. Thank you so much.
Thank you.